Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. So today for Turkey Day, I thought I would take a look at this book here. So this is Thanksgiving, and this just came out from Ahoy Comics, and it is written by Mark Russell and artist Mauricet. And so I picked this up because, there's not a lot of Thanksgiving comics out there, but I really didn't know what to expect with this. And I think this is a great story, and so I wanted to talk about it here on the channel. So it starts off here just showing the outside of a house. It's snowing, it's Thanksgiving. We've got narration of one of our main characters kind of talking about their family. So we see Grandpa just sort of vegging out to the news on the TV, and they're talking about a serial killer that's called the Turkey Neck Killer and how they keep striking. And then we move on to the adult kids of the family, Terry and Joe. And then we see Grandma in the kitchen cooking. Then it's time for the meal. And then they sit down for dinner. And we're kind of finding out that everybody here is a pretty flawed character. Joe seems to be kind of the most moral of the bunch. But everybody definitely has their flaws here. And we're introduced then to Uncle Stan, who is a game show host. But he kind of helped raise the kids after their father disappeared when they were younger. And so we kind of see him helping out, taking them on trips and that kind of thing. And then, hosting his game show. And then we see here kind of backstage of the game show, he really kind of resents the contestants. And he also says, is this what it feels like to be God? So yeah, there's definitely some stuff going on with Stan here too, even though he does seem to be helping out. So then we're continuing on with the dinner, and we got a little backstory here on turkeys that get pardoned for Thanksgiving and how they still don't last very long in captivity, apparently. And here we get some more talk over dinner about the Turkey Neck Killer, a local serial killer that they were mentioning on the news earlier, talking about how he slits throats like how you slaughter a turkey and then cuts off a finger. And then we get to the pretty interesting part of the story here, where apparently this family has a tradition where you say a confession over dinner. And so you're supposed to confess something to the family that they don't know, and, you have to be honest. Joe says when she was 17, she used to steal the family car. Terry says he put a GPS tracker on his ex's car, and no one's real surprised about that. But then Uncle Stan gets up and says that he is the Turkey Neck Killer. And so he is confessing here to the family that he's the serial killer that has been on the news and, they all have heard of. And Grandma's saying, don't be weird. Nobody believes him. Then Stanley pulls something out of his pocket here and throws it on the table, and it's a finger. So again, that's part of the MO of the Turkey Neck Killer here, is that he takes a finger when he kills somebody. So we can kind of see from everybody's expressions here that, yeah, they definitely believe him. And, we have a severed finger in the banana pudding here now. Then we cut to a crime scene where the Turkey Neck Killer has struck, and we have these sort of apathetic local police, maybe not too concerned about the victim here, and kind of giving the impression of, why this guy hasn't been caught yet kind of thing. And so then we cut back to the family kind of discussing what Uncle Stan has done, and Terry asks if he could kill someone for him. And, kind of asking if he takes requests. Grandpa is still kind of apathetic about the whole thing. And Grandma is okay because he's just killing Mexicans. So yeah, it kind of tells you where Grandma stands on all this. And again, Joe is getting more outraged as this goes on, saying, they can't just protect Uncle Stan, even though he's been good to him. They have to, turn him in. But Stan, asks them to hold on for a second, and he presents them with envelopes with their Christmas presents. So these are kind of big gifts that he's offering them here. So Grandma is getting a hip replacement surgery. Mom gets a vacation. Joe is going to get her student loans paid off. But in true sort of game show host fashion, Stan presents them with, okay, you can have the gift that's in the envelope, or he will offer to kill someone for you. So that's kind of like the big twist of the story here, I think, and sort of the moral dilemma. I feel like this really kind of separates this from other sort of serial killer, slasher kind of stories. I think this is a really intriguing twist here to the story. So the family is kind of debating here about what to do. Joe is the only one that seems really morally opposed to this. Everybody else, is actually kind of considering it here. And Grandpa is just kind of going along with everything. And Stan tells them that they kind of all have to agree on one thing or the other. Like, you either get the gift or you get a murder. But, like, the family has to decide together what they're going to get. Joe is pleading with her mother to do something, but Stan tells her she doesn't get a murder because she already got hers. And so they reveal to the kids that Uncle Stan killed their father. So back when they were younger, their parents were having troubles, and Stan killed their father. While this discussion is going on, some local police show up to kind of warn everybody about the turkey neck killer being at large. But then Stan opens the door, and the police are just sort of enamored with meeting a celebrity. They recognize him from his game show. And so then the cops leave, and we cut back to the family discussion, and the mother kind of telling the kids, what was going on, and that how Stan killed their father. He slit his throat, and then he cut off his finger to take his wedding ring. So that's how the MO of the cutting the neck and taking a finger developed. But then turns out Stan got really into this after he killed his brother-in-law. So apparently this is the origin of how he becomes the turkey neck killer. And then we cut back to him talking to the police outside. And Stan just kind of plays nice with the police until they leave. Then we come back to inside, and the family's, still kind of discussing what to do. There's supposed to be a prize for the best confession, and they're kind of agreeing that Stan has won this year. But then Stan sits down and notices, where's the finger? So the finger that he threw in the banana pudding earlier is gone. Now we cut to Joe running outside to track down the police that are leaving the house, and, telling them that her uncle is the turkey neck killer. And they're like, what, the game show host? They don't believe her. They think it's a prank. And then Uncle Stan shows up to kind of bring her home. So when Stan is trying to justify himself to Joe here, she's just thinking back to all the pictures she's seen of his victims over the years. And so she grabs a gun to stop him. Grandma tries to intervene, and then the mom lashes out and stabs Stan. So Stan's killed. The cops show up because they heard gunfire, and Joe's able to convince the cops, like, well, this must be the work of the turkey neck killer. So the cops are like, well, it's not the same MO, but he's changed his MO before, so that must be what's going on here. So later on, an investigator comes by, and, the family's talking to the police, and, they're all kind of just covering for the mom and telling the cops different things that, obviously the turkey neck killer broke into the house and ran out the back while they were all in the front room. Then we have the police taking the body away, and our story ends with Grandpa here finishing off the banana pudding. So yeah, this is definitely not what I was expecting when I picked up this book. I figured there was something going on with the bloody knife on the cover here. But yeah, again, I'm a big fan of Mark Russell's writing. I think this is great. I could definitely see this being turned into a movie. I think there's a lot of potential here. I don't know if there's a sequel to this. I don't know if you really could do that. But again, this is a great kind of standalone issue. The art by Mauricet is really good too. I really enjoyed this book. This is definitely something I'll read again. But yeah, just sort of a fun horror story. And again, there aren't a lot of Thanksgiving specials out there, so this might be something I read around Thanksgiving time from now on. But yeah, definitely a fun, entertaining story. You've got the really kind of morally dubious family who actually considers Stan's offer, and I feel like that's really kind of the hook to this story. If the family was all morally just, they would not consider his offer. But the real kind of meat of the story is them sort of debating and kind of processing, his offer here. They've got these great things that he's going to offer them, or the chance to murder someone and get away with it. So yeah, I think that's an interesting question that the story brings up. You know, what would you do, you know, if somebody offered you that? And again, you know, it's something that Stan says he will do. They don't have to murder anyone. Stan is going to take care of it for them. And he's obviously successful at it, as he's been getting away with murder literally for years at this point. So yeah, it brings up this real kind of interesting ethical question here with this family. And, you know, it's a good ending. I feel like if anything, they could have maybe tried to match the MO a little bit closer to the turkey neck killer when Stan is killed. But again, this just feels like a more impulsive thing that the mom does. It would have been interesting to see maybe the family try to work a little better to sort of tailor the crime scene to the turkey neck killer's MO. But again, that's a minor thing. And again, this is a one-shot. They only have so much room to tell the story in this book. But yeah, I think this is a great story. It should be available at your local comic shop if you want to pick it up. Again, this came out from Ahoy Comics just a couple weeks ago. But yeah, just a really good book. I really enjoyed it. If I was going to grade it, I'd probably give it a near mint. I mean, this is almost a great book. I can't really think of anything I would improve upon other than maybe just sort of matching the turkey neck killer MO a little bit. But again, that's a minor thing. And I can understand why they wouldn't do that. I think this is a great book. Have you read this? What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter/X at Detective651. Also on Instagram at Detective651. Be sure to check out my t-shirt store at tpublic.com/user/Detective651. I've got a lot of nerdy designs on there, and there's sales all the time, so check it out frequently.